have you been? We have shows.
I was in a game.
Mm-hmm.
This wasn't even a regular game. This was like wiffle ball.
Can you lose all your money in a game of wiffle ball?
What? No, I couldn't lose. That's the point. Why does it still seem like gambling to you? Why do you think the same 5 guys win the most money at the pepper mill year in and year out? It's a skill game, Jordan.
Then why did you have to lie to us, Ben?
Because I knew you wouldn't understand.
Understand what?
I sat down in this poker game, and I felt alive for the first time since my first day on the anchor desk, okay?
So are you telling me that you just felt alive for the first time at a fucking poker game table? How does that make the reporters and the producers feel?
Heading on into Peppermill on a snowy Thursday in Reno, Nevada. It is vlog number 68. It is the last vlog that I will be doing as a man without a child. Yes, it's still somewhat hard for me to believe, as my wife Debbie set to give birth sometime in the next couple of weeks. Perhaps I'll have some video of him after he is born to show you in the next vlog. So look for that. As far as how things have been going poker-wise lately, not so good. As some of you know, I mentioned that $2,000 loss on New Year's Day. New Year's Day! I mean, come on. The poker gods just not giving me a break, which I don't feel like they've done for the last 5-6 months since that hot streak I had at the end of the summer. They gave someone else a hot streak, by the way. Yesterday when I was playing, there was a guy who, probably about my age, I've never played with him before that I know of, but I would say there's about a 30 to 40% chance he watches this vlog. I don't even know his name, but in about an hour time, he successfully managed to crack my pocket kings when he had ace king. He cracked my pocket aces when he had kings, flopping a set and winning a $1,000 pot. I had ace-king against him shortly after that. I 3-bet a pot. He called me with pocket eights, flopped a set, and won about 800 or 900 off another guy who flopped 2 pair on an 8, 9, 10 board. He had pocket eights. And then like 10 minutes after that, the dude picked up pocket aces himself, and this other guy ran a crazy bluff into him, which didn't work. So he won another 500 or 600. It was absolute insanity. And to this guy's credit, he played all the hands well. He didn't play them badly. He played them good. But I know you've all been there, where you've seen something like this happening in front of your eyes, and you cannot believe it. And of course, you have to be somewhat aggravated by asking, well, why can't this ever happen to me? You've all gone on hot streaks, but I've never gone on a hot streak in 1 hour like that before. Never happened. The first hand comes pretty early on in the session when there's a $20 straddle on under the gun 2, and the button, with only $80 behind, makes the call. I then pick up ace queen of hearts in the small blind, and I decide to raise to 80. The straddle folds, and the button quickly calls off his remaining stack and shows ace king. I guess he was doing a weird slow play or something, but when the board runs out, something really unexpected happens. 3 hearts come out there and I win. That's about the rarest of occurrences. I can usually not beat ace-queen when I have ace-king. In this case, it goes the opposite direction, so we get off to a good start. Next hand folds to me in the hijack, and I have queen-jack, and I make it 20. I get 1 call behind me. Both blinds get in there as well. So with 80 in, the board comes out jack 8-6 with 2 clubs. I bet 35, and the cutoff calls. The blinds fold, so with 150 in, the turn is an offsuit 4. I bet $55, wanting to make sure he doesn't fold a weaker jack, and sure enough, he calls. So with 260 in, the river is an offsuit jack. So if he was chasing a flush, he has missed. And if he has a jack, he will definitely bet. So I think this is a perfect spot for me to check call. I check, and sure enough, he bets out for 125. We snap call, and he says, good call. And we take down a $510 pot without even having to show, as he just went ahead and mucked his hand. I then stupidly bluffed off $120, breaking my tentative New Year's resolution, trying to bluff less. And then we get a $15 raise from +1, and I have ace-6 of hearts in the small blind. I make the call, as does the big blind. So with 45 in, the flop comes 7-8-3 with 2 hearts. I decide to semi-bluff at this pot right now. I bet 40, and that results in the big blind folding, but +2 sticking around. With 125 in, the turn is an offsuit 6, giving me a pair of 6s to go along with my nut flush draw. I fire $100, and he folds. Shortly after that, I lost with pocket jacks to a guy who had called my $35 raise pre-flop with queen 5 offsuit. He did not hit his queen, but he rivered a straight and won the pot. Then comes the hand of the year so far. It starts with an OMC opening to 20 under the gun. I look down at pocket aces +1. Now this OMC is very tight, shockingly, so going heads up with him is not going to get me all that much money. And a VIP has recently sat down in the 1 seat. So I'm hoping that I can min raise and get the VIP involved. So my plan is essentially to have a 3-way pot here, if I can pull it off. I make it 40, and sure enough, the VIP cold calls. Now, somewhat to my surprise, the button then cold calls as well. And the original raiser obviously complete. So with $160 in, it comes 8-9 deuce, 2 clubs. Under the gun checks, and I opt for a half pot size bet. And the VIP and the hijack calls, and the other 2 players fold. So with 320 in, this whole thing is going pretty much as I wanted it to go so far. The turn comes a very interesting card. It's the Jack of Clubs. Now I have the Ace of Clubs with my pocket aces. I decide to check, so if he has a flush, I can check call with my nut flush draw and hopefully not get blown off my hand here. He's also very capable of representing the flush here. But in this case, he checks the turn back. So we go to the river, which pairs the board, but it's the 8 of clubs, giving me the nut flush. So I opt for a small value bet here, hoping obviously that he's caught a lower flush, but I don't want to bet too big because he could get away from a lot of flushes. He also checked the turn, and I didn't think he was too strong in the first place. I bet 100, and he instantly says, raise! Now, it takes a minute for him to decide how much he wanted to raise, but ultimately, he decides on all of it. Now, he has about $900 left. They're all in red chips, so I actually asked for a count because I cannot tell how much money he has slid into this pot. And obviously, I don't have the nuts here. I started the hand with $1,300. Turns out I had him covered because there were no green chips in this pile that he put in. I'm never folding here, given who this opponent is, but he's definitely going to have some full houses, obviously. And I didn't think that he would opt for raising the river as a bluff, as opposed to betting the turn when checked to. So I was a little bit nervous, but nevertheless, I have to call. So we have a $2,100 pot, and he shows 8-4 of spades for trip eights, no full house. So obviously those clubs didn't concern him, or maybe he just didn't realize that there were 4 clubs. Either way, we take down a big one, and definitely the highlight of the year so far. That put me up $1,600 or so on the day. After that, I didn't get video of it, but I played a hand where my $130 3-bet before the flop, when I had pocket kings, got called by ace 4 of hearts. A European gentleman flopped the nut flush draw, called me on the flop and the turn, and hit an ace on the river, not the nut flush. So I lost about $500 of that profit in that hand, ultimately booking a win of just under $1,100. All right, wrapping things up on a Sunday evening here for vlog 68. That ridiculous pot with the pocket aces almost getting me out of the hole for 2020, but not quite. Still some work to do there, which I intend to do later on this week. And speaking of later on this week, we'll have the San Francisco 49ers hosting the Green Bay Packers for the NFC Championship. A rematch of 1997's NFC Championship game, which happens to be the last time the 49ers were ever the #1 seed in the NFC before this year. Of course, that was back when the Packers dominated the 49ers in the playoffs, 95, 96, 97, beating them before that wild card win by Young to Owens in 98, even though it was the first round game, so who really cares? And lately, it's been the Niners dominating that playoff rivalry with that win with Kaepernick in the cold in 2013, and then I guess the one before that as well at Candlestick, which was the last ever playoff game at Candlestick. So it's going to be tough. I know the Niners dominated them earlier this year, but I think they're playing better than they were then. So I think this game could come right down to it, and we'll see how that ultimately ends up playing out. That's going to wrap it up for this edition of the vlog. I think you already know what's in store for the next one. As always, hit the like and subscribe buttons if you haven't already, and we will see you next time.